Alrighty, guys, welcome to our NBA free pick video here today for Sunday, March 5th, 2023. Happy Sunday to you. Hopefully you guys are having a great weekend. Of course, my name is Brock Page. I've been doing sports picks for free right here on YouTube since 2016. And if you want to see a video breakdown of every single one of my personal bets here today, there's only one way to do that, and that's to watch my board member podcast. And the only way you can access my board member podcast is to join my full access, all-inclusive board member package on my website. Now, board members get access to every single personal play of mine, every single one of them, every single package, every single day until April 1st. And as an added bonus here, guys, you're also going to get access to that board member podcast every single day you're signed up to the membership. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. What I do on my website is actually share with you which one of these free plays on these videos that I'm actually betting on personally. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to start off with the early game. It's the Suns at the Mavs, 1 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Dallas is -1 at home, totals 231. And as bad as Dallas has been here recently, they do still play some pretty good defense at home. They're in the top 10 in the NBA in fewest home points allowed. They also have one of the lower defensive three-point percentages at home in the NBA. Luka Doncic leads the team in steals per game, and he also scores a whole lot of points. I don't know if you guys knew that. Luka's currently the league leader in points per game with 33.4. Now, Kyrie Irving's also knocking down 42% of his three-pointers with his new team. They're facing a Phoenix squad who plays their worst basketball on the road. The Suns are just 14-19 in their travels, and they've certainly struggled with Dallas offensively in recent meetings. Out of their last 10 contests against the Mavericks, Phoenix averaged just 104 points a game. As far as this season's concerned, the Suns actually have one of the lowest offensive field goal percentages in the Western Conference. Now, injury-wise, Ross and Ayton are questionable. Shamet's still out. When it comes to the total in this one, the Mavs saw unders recently against the likes of Denver and the Clippers. They also saw 6 out of their last 10 against Phoenix stay under the total. So if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. Now, Phoenix went 60% to the under in their last 10 this season themselves. Give me Dallas -1, under 231. The next contest, it is going to be Warriors at the Lakers, 3:30 p.m. East. Golden State's -4.5, totals 235. And the Warriors won their last 5 straight. They should be getting Steph Curry back in the lineup here today. Steph scoring over 29 points a game this year, and he drills nearly 43% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Klay Thompson's knocking down 40% of his shots from three-land. He currently ranks second on the team in points. When it comes to defensive play, the Warriors are in the top 3 in the NBA in defensive points per game on the road. Now, they're facing a Lakers squad on the other side who plays some of the worst defense in the Western Conference. LA is giving up more points a game than most clubs in the West. They're also dead last in home defensive boards. Yeah, interesting. Now, I don't think they're dead last, but they're towards the bottom of the barrel in home defensive boards. Anyway, injury-wise, LeBron and D'Angelo Russell are both still out. Anthony Davis is questionable. When it comes to the total, the Lakers saw overs recently against the likes of Oklahoma City and Portland. They also went 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Golden State. Now, the Warriors are 23-7 to the over in their travels. Give me Golden State -4.5, over 235. Next matchup, Pacers Bulls, 3:30 p.m. East. Chicago's -6.5, totals 224. I just don't think Chicago's playing good enough basketball to cover this number here. They failed to cover in 8 out of their last 10. They actually took the outright loss 7 times during that span. When it comes to defensive play, these guys are allowing more fourth quarter points a game than most clubs in the association. They're taking on a Pacer team who covered in 4 out of their last 5 themselves. And they certainly have little issue scoring points. And even though Tyrese Halliburton's banged up right now, Indiana does have plenty of guys who can get to the basket. Miles Turner's making over 54% of his field goals, and he also drills 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Buddy Hield, he's drilling nearly 43% of his shots from beyond the arc. Now, as a team, the Pacers are in the top 3 in the NBA right now in fourth quarter scoring, so that back door always open. Now, injury-wise, Halliburton, Nesmith, and Brown are questionable for Indy. Meanwhile, for the Bulls, Javonte Green's still out for them. Now, total-wise, Chicago saw their last 2 straight get over the number. Meanwhile, the Pacers saw 3 out of their last 5 on the road get over the total themselves. Give me Indy plus 6.5 over 224. Next ball game, Hornets, Nets, 6 o'clock East. Brooklyn's minus 7.5, totals 227. Now, I do think this is another one of those instances where I don't think a team's playing good enough to lay a certain number, and Brooklyn's certainly one of them. They've won only 3 games since February 4th. They posted a record of just 3-8 during that time frame. When it comes to grabbing boards, the Nets might be the worst rebounding team in the East. They're currently in the bottom 10 in the entire NBA in defensive boards. And they're also grabbing fewer offensive rebounds than any other team in the league except for one. Now, they're facing a Charlotte team on the other side who's in the top 5 in the NBA in offensive boards on the road. Meanwhile, as a team, Charlotte covered in 5 out of their last 7. They actually got the outright W 5 times during that span. Terry Rozier scoring over 21 points per contest. He currently leads the active roster in scoring. Meanwhile, Kelly Oubre is grabbing nearly 6 boards a game. He's also scoring 20 points per contest. And speaking of points, the Hornets are averaging more fourth quarter points on the road than most clubs in the East. Now, injury-wise, Cody Martin's out for Charlotte. Meanwhile, for Brooklyn, Bum Simmons and Eddie Sumner are still out for them. Yuta Watanabe is questionable. When it comes to the total, Brooklyn saw 4 out of their last 7 get over the number. Meanwhile, Charlotte's 20-14 of the over in their road trips. Give me the Hornets plus 7.5 over 227. Next game, Blazers at the Magic, 6 o'clock East. Orlando's the 2-point favorite at home, totals 229. And even though the Magic's favored by a bucket here, they may have to go to work without Gary Harris and Franz Wagner. Both guys are day-to-day with leg injuries. But even when Orlando's mostly healthy, this is one of the worst scoring teams in the game. Orlando's currently in the bottom 3 in the NBA in offensive points per contest. Now, they're also facing a Portland team who's one of the better clubs in the league at guarding the three-pointer while they travel. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, Portland's currently in the top 5 in the league in defensive boards away from home. Now, Jeremy Grant, he grabs a handful of rebounds per game. He's also scoring 20 points per contest. Meanwhile, Dame Lillard, he averages a team-high 32 points a game. When it comes to the injury report, Nurkic, Winslow, Arcidiacono, Simons, and Baji, they're all inactive for Portland. And when it comes to the total, the Blazers saw unders in their last 3 straight. 20-11 to the under in their road games. Give me Portland plus 2 over 229. Next game, it is going to be Spurs at the Rockets, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Houston's minus 3, totals 230.5. And as I've said before, with these guys, going head-to-head, these two teams, neither team should be laying any type of points in any type of spot. But when it comes to Houston, they currently have the worst record in the NBA right now, and they're the worst shooting team in the league. They're facing a San Antonio team who has covered recently against the likes of Indy, Utah, and Cleveland. And in their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Houston, the Spurs covered in 60% of those matchups. Devin Vassal's averaging nearly 20 points a game. He's also shooting 40% from three-land. Meanwhile, Devontae Graham, he's shooting it well from three-land with his new team. He's averaging over 15.5 points a night with the Spurs as well. Now, injury-wise, McDermott, Johnson, and Branham are questionable. Birch is still inactive. When it comes to the total, San Antonio saw their last 5 straight divisional road games get over. Meanwhile, Houston saw 3 out of their last 4 at the Toyota Center get over the line. Give me San Antonio +3 over 230.5. Next contest, Jazz Thunder, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Oklahoma City's -6.5, totals 235. And even though Utah's a little banged up right now, it's actually Oklahoma City who hasn't played all that well recently. Thunder's lost 5 out of their last 6. And they've had a tough time with the Jazz in recent meetings. In their last 10 contests against Utah, OKC averaged only 105 points a game offensively. They also took the outright loss 8 times during that stretch. As far as this year's concerned, the Thunder, they grabbed fewer defensive boards a game than any other team in the NBA. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. OKC's a worse rebounding team than the Lakers, but the Lakers are pretty bad. Now they're facing a Utah team on the other side who's actually one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the Western Conference. So you're kind of seeing a mismatch with regards to rebounds. Of course, Kelly Olynyk, he's grabbing nearly 6 rebounds a game. He also drills over 40% of his shots from downtown. Now, Jordan Clarkson's also averaging over 20.5 points a game himself. When it comes to the injury report, top scorer Lauri Markkanen, he is out for the Jazz. That's why you're seeing this kind of lopsided number, and I think you're going to see a lot of money pouring in on OKC. NBA bettors love to overreact to injuries. So, once again, Lauri Markkanen's out for the Jazz. Colin Sexton's still on the bench as well. Just wanted to mention those because I got to make sure you guys know that I'm fully aware of those injuries, but I'm still back in the Jazz. Now, Oklahoma City on the other side, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's questionable for them. He's a little bit banged up as well. When it comes to the total, OKC went 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Utah saw 3 out of their last 5 on the road get over the number themselves. Give me Utah +6.5 over 235. All right, next ball game, it is going to be Bucks at the Wizards, 7:30 Eastern start time. Milwaukee's -4, totals 229. And even though the Bucks had their massive win streak snap last night, they're still one of the best defensive teams on the road. They're in the top 3 in defensive field goal percentage while traveling. They also have the lowest defensive three-point percentage on the road in the NBA. Drew Holiday leads the squad in steals and also ranks second on the team in points. Meanwhile, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he averages a team-best 31 points a game. He ranks second in the NBA with 12 rebounds a night. And speaking of boards, the Bucks are grabbing more offensive rebounds a game than any other club in the association. When it comes to the injury report, Wesley Matthews is questionable for Milwaukee. Meanwhile, Kuzma, Gafford, and Avdija are questionable for Washington. Monte Morris is still inactive. When it comes to the scoring, Washington saw unders against the likes of Chicago, New York, and Minnesota here recently. Meanwhile, Milwaukee's 22-8 to the under in all of their road trips. Give me Milwaukee -4, under 229. Next matchup, it is going to be Knicks at the Celtics, 7:30 Eastern start time in the Garden. Boston's -6 in Beantown, totals 228. Now, the Celtics did lose 2 out of their last 3. They've certainly had their hands full with New York in recent meetings. Out of their last 10 contests against the Knicks, Boston averaged only 106 points a game offensively. They also got the W in just 4 of those matchups. And as far as this season's concerned, the Celtics are averaging fewer fourth-quarter points a game than most clubs in the Eastern Conference. They're facing a New York team who plays their best basketball on the road. New York's 19-12 in their travels, and they covered an over 67% of those ball games. When it comes to defensive play, the Knicks are currently leading the league in guarding the field goal on the road. They currently have the lowest road field goal percentage in the entire NBA. Julius Randle has a bunch of steals on the season. And he also averages double-digit boards. And, of course, for those who don't know, Randle's currently the team's leading scorer. Now, teammate Jalen Brunson, he scores 23 points a game himself. And he also drills over 41% of his three-pointers. And when it comes to the injury report, I don't see anybody on the injury list right now for New York. They are mostly healthy. No significant scratches to report. Meanwhile, for Boston, deep ball threat Malcolm Brogdon, he is questionable to suit up. Robert Williams is out. Now, total-wise, the Celtics are 22-11 to the over in the Garden this year. Meanwhile, the Knicks went 60% to the over in their last 10. Give me New York plus 6, over 228. Next and final matchup for the video, it is going to be Grizzlies at the Clippers, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. The LA Clippers are -7, totals 227.5. And even though I do hate this number here, it does look like the Grizzlies are in shambles. Ja, Brooks, and Adams, they're all out. But even when these guys are mostly healthy, the Grizzlies, they just can't win away from Memphis. These guys got the W in just 12 out of 31 road games. When it comes to shooting the basketball, these guys are dead last in free throw percentage. They also have one of the lowest three-point percentages in the Western Conference. Now, they're facing a Clipper team who prides themselves in their defensive play. These guys give up just 109 points a game in the Crip. They're also allowing fewer third quarter points a game than any other team in the entire league. Paul George, he has a bunch of steals on the season, and he leads the team in points. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard averages 23 points a game himself. He's drilling 41% of his three-pointers. Now, injury-wise, Norm Powell's out. Ivica Zubac is questionable. Meanwhile, for Memphis, once again, Adams, Brooks, and Ja, they're all inactive. When it comes to the total, Memphis saw unders in their last 6 straight. Meanwhile, LA's 23-7 to the under in their own arena. Give me the Clippers -7, under 227.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Dallas Mavericks -1, under 231. Golden State Warriors -4.5, over 235. Indiana Pacers +6.5, over 224. And if you want to see a video breakdown of every single one of my personal bets here today, games that I personally have my own action on, there's only one way to do that, and that's to join my all-inclusive board member package on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. Give me Charlotte +7.5, over 227. Portland Trailblazers +2, over 229. San Antonio Spurs +3, over 230.5. Utah Jazz +6.5, over 235. Milwaukee Bucks -4, under 229. New York Knicks +6, over 228. And with my next and final free pick, give me the Clippers -7, under 227.5.